He knocked me over. I landed on the dog bowl.
This One's Wife, Missing Millions. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Some time ago, because of my knowledge of how the narcissist functions, I explained to you that it was only, as Depeche Mode once sang, a question of time before this one's wife would have problems. This would be as a consequence of the downward spiral. I explained that there would be no massive blowout by her. There wouldn't be one act that would result in her comeuppance, much as many people would like to see, but rather a steady downward progression towards obscurity. This is starting to gather pace. We have the growing unpopularity. We have the repeated revelations that come from staff about the bullying behaviours. And now, serious questions are being asked about the financial arrangements of this one's wife and Harry. Chris Matthews, reporting in the Daily Mail, explains, Prince Harry and this one's wife's charity, Archwell, was gifted 2 grants of more than $6 million over the last 2 years, but both are missing from the charity's latest 990 form tax return. The discovery has prompted speculation over what has happened to the Sussex's missing millions. Although it is understood that Archwell believes its records that only declared $2,911 are correct, and Mail Online can confirm it is legal and possible the money will appear on the next return. The apparent discrepancy could not have come at a worse time for the Duke and Duchess's beleaguered foundation, as it was only given the green light to spend and raise money again early this year after charity officials branded it as delinquent and not in good standing. Now, pausing there, it's not really a surprise to find that an organisation linked to this one's wife is described as delinquent and not of good standing because of her lack of the concept of accountability. Now Archwell could be facing another few tense months as the Internal Revenue Service, IRS, waits for the charity's next tax return, which may well explain the missing millions donated to the couple's foundation. Accordingly, it appears that there is a significant question mark that has been raised in relation to the money. As yet, there's no confirmation of any illegality, but just the suggestion as to what's actually gone on with this money. Now, for some time, there have been certain commentators who have undertaken sterling work with regard to investigating the financial circumstances of this one's wife and highlighting some of the discrepancies. And it would appear that one of these discrepancies has found itself coming to the attention of the mainstream media, highlighting that there is a question mark over the financial propriety, and it has to be seen what happens next in terms of the filing to determine what has occurred in relation to what on the face of it appear to be missing millions. This latest revelation adds to speculation that this one's wife and Harry's charity is being propped up by a handful of wealthy donors. You recall in the past that it would appear that very few donations have actually come from the public, and it's just a handful of wealthy donors that are supporting the charity, which again underpins their lack of support, and also the fact that their main supporters, i.e. those members of the public that support them, aren't individuals who particularly come from successful socio-economic backgrounds. The latest 2 grants were made in the 2022-2023 financial year, one totalling $6 million from Fidelity Charitable and another of $10,050 from Tisbest Philanthropy, both their 990 forms revealed. It is likely that individual donors could have used the companies to donate the money anonymously, as was previously the case with large donations to Archwell. In 2021, an anonymous $10 million donation was made through the Silicon Valley Community Foundation, a mega-rich non-profit and a vehicle for extremely wealthy philanthropists to give out tax-free grants anonymously. In 2022, Archwell said it received just 2 grants of $1 million each from anonymous donors. Fidelity Charitable could be the vessel that was used by one or both of these donors. Both Fidelity and Tisbest declared grants made across the second half of 2022 and the first half of 2023. It means Fidelity's $6 million could have been split over 2 years and appear as two separate donations for Archewell, while only a single one for Fidelity. The same could be the case for Tisbest's cash, so there might be an explanation for it, but even so, all eyes will be on Archewell's next return on November the 15th, 2024. Archewell bosses will be hoping not to have a repeat of its problems with charity officials from the Registry of Charities and Fundraisers. In May, it said Archewell failed to properly submit its annual report or renewal fees and had banned it from either fundraising or distributing charitable funds. Sussex sources claimed that the delinquency notice was actually issued because Attorney General Rob Bonter's office did not process a $200 cheque. Blame shifting. That was a different explanation to the one offered by the same Sussex sources the night before, who claimed that the paperwork was filed on time, but the discrepancy was down to a cheque that accompanied the documents going missing in the post. Sussex sources previously told Mail Online that the Archewell Foundation's tax filings for 2022 were submitted in full in accordance with all regulations in the United States. By mid-May, the Attorney General's office confirmed Archewell had regained its active charity status, but alarm bells will be ringing if the charity gets in hot water again. Accordingly, there is a suspicion that has been raised in relation to two grants of over $6 million, and it remains to be seen what their treatment will be when the next tax return is filed. However, what it does show is the increasing scrutiny that this one's wife and Harry have come under. There are, of course, many that have been critical of their financial arrangements with regard to suggesting that Archewell being set up in Delaware has meant that 95% of the money that is received can be utilised on expenses, only 5% being used for charitable purposes. That in effect, it's a scam vehicle, albeit a legal one, that enables them to utilise donations to cover their transport, to cover salaries, to cover expenses, to cover clothing, and so forth, which of course rather flies in the face of what a charity is meant to do, but is not a surprise when it comes to a narcissist, particularly a somatic one. At this juncture, there is merely the suggestion that there might be something suspicious going on because of the absence of the money which didn't appear on the latest tax return, and therefore it remains to be seen whether it's going to appear on the next one or not. This could, of course, present particular problems for this one's wife and Harry if it transpires that the money is not accounted for, and we shall see in the next few months whether that is the case. But the fact is, this is already being flagged, and of course, if these two were popular, this would be a nothing burger. It wouldn't get mentioned, but it demonstrates again how there are so many people watching what they're doing and doing so with a critical eye, which of course is another collateral consequence of her behaviour. Were she popular, and were Harry had retained his popularity, people wouldn't be focusing on them in this way. But because of the way that she has behaved and the unpopularity that she has generated, this means that they're repeatedly under scrutiny, that people are waiting for them to do something, people are watching how they behave in order to try and catch them out. And in the circumstances, this means that there is the potential for them to fall foul because, of course, remember, the narcissist is more prone than a non-narcissist, although not guaranteed, of course, to engage in behaviour which is questionable as a consequence of the lack of moral compass, the absence of emotional empathy, the lack of accountability, and the sense of entitlement. We will see whether it is the case of the missing millions, but at the moment there's a question mark, and it shows that as a consequence of her behaviour, people are watching. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.